That's why I'm still up here. I've got a PowerPoint in keeping with my, well, I've only done one, so at this point, now it's my style. And the only reason I did it was there's two mountains mentioned, and I wanted to put a picture of the map that's got the mountains marked out on it. That's really the only reason I made the PowerPoint. So, okay, it's up. I was about to say I'm going to banter until the PowerPoint's up, but the PowerPoint's up. I'm not fussing with a clicker this time. It didn't work well last time. Thank you. She puts up with a lot. She does. Okay, so this, if you look at it on a surface level, this portion was, I'll be honest, it was pretty dry. Because it was a bunch of laws, right? It can be dry. Don't give me that look. Don't give me that look. It can be dry. But pretty cool. This portion, you know, Deuteronomy is supposed to be the second telling of the whole story up to this point, right? The last portion that I gave a message on was Bechukotai, and this portion starts with the retelling of Bechukotai, which is pretty cool. I'll give you an attaboy if you can tell me what the main Hebrew word from the last message was. For no reason other than to see if anyone retained it. Yeah. No. It was keri. It was keri, and it was meant to represent, you know, treating Adonai as happenstance, right? Not acknowledging the actions that he has in your life. That was the key point of Bechukotai. So I'll kind of breeze over that first part. Slide. I think I'm ready. Okay. So if we follow Adonai's commandments, we will receive a blessing. And if we turn away, we will receive the curse, which is, let me skip ahead here. Hebrew word for curse is uklala. Pretty sure. Could be wrong. Heavy grain of salt with that one. So both the blessing and the curse are received due to our own decisions, which is recited in two later passages, one by King David and one by King Solomon, right? I couldn't, off the top of my head, I couldn't remember if it was King Solomon or if it was just Solomon. So I put King and was like, hope it was right. But anyway, King David states in Psalms that the Lord is the portion of my inheritance and my cup, you support my lot. Whatever choices we make is actually explained a little bit better by King Solomon. The mind of a person plans his way, but the Lord directs his steps. We set our mind on something and the Lord makes it so, be that good or be that bad. And that's the blessing and the curse. Slide. I was kind of hoping it'd be a little bigger, but you can get an idea. So here's Jerusalem, right? Jericho is way down here. Here's the baptismal site of Yeshua. And then way up here. Let me check my notes. I forgot which one. I've studied, I've prepared, I blanked. The blue marker is Mount Ibal. And the red marker is Mount Gerizim. Thank you. I've never been able to pronounce it correctly. And this dotted line that runs north to south is the Jordan River, which if you read the CJB, it's Yarden. I have no clue how they bridge the gap on that one. How to turn a Y into a J. Woo. All right. I think that's, there's one more slide for the map. I put this in last minute, but since we're at this point, I figured I'd pull up a map that shows the route that they've taken up to this point in the story. You can see this is where they cross the river. They actually go into Jericho, and then the mountains will be somewhere up here around Canaan. Cool stuff. They're also super inaccurate. I've seen one where Mount Sinai's in this peninsula, but over here, Mount Sinai's over here, and they've got a whole bunch of the spots mixed around. Check your maps. Next slide. So, okay. The offerings. I thought this was a pretty cool section. It's a law that states that we're supposed to share basically 1/10 of all of our produce and eat it in the place of the Lord. So grain, olive oil, meat, what have you, anything that's a food item that we can eat, we should save 1/10 of it and eat it specifically in the place of the Lord. And even though this was technically intended for the temple when it was going to be constructed, I still think that the way we accomplish this today is through oneg. Because we go downstairs and we break and share bread in the place of worship. We rejoice and call the Sabbath a delight, which is that's a piece of scripture from Isaiah. Just a cool connection I wanted to make. All right, slide. And then the laws of eating kosher are reiterated. Stuff like you can eat anything in the water unless it doesn't have scales on it. You can eat anything on the land as long as it chews the cud and has a split hoof. If it doesn't have both of those, you can't eat of it. But the thing I thought was pretty interesting was that specifically for every animal, you are not to eat the blood, no matter what kind of animal it is. For the blood is the life, and you are not to eat the life with the meat. If you eat the blood, your life is subject to being cut short, and the concept in Hebrew is called karet, which I've put on the slide. The same penalty also applies if you interpret omens or if you perform witchcraft. And something interesting, this is exactly what the Egyptians did. This is the practice that the Egyptians would do. They would slaughter an animal, drink its blood, and then use it to predict the future. And what happened to the Egyptians? They didn't do so hot, Which leads good into the next section, slide, false prophets. If you encounter a false prophet, you must kill the false prophet. There's no other, it's not, hey, even if it's your brother, if it's your dad, if it's your grandmother, they're gone. They can't be around here. This is also mentioned earlier, like almost at the beginning of the portion. You must destroy all the places where the nations you are dispossessing serve their gods, whether on high mountains, or on hills, or under some leafy tree. Break down their altars, smash their standing stones to pieces, burn up their sacred poles completely, and cut down the carved images of their gods, exterminate their name from that place. So if that city was not worshiping Adonai, that place was going to get bulldozed and it was going to get turned into something else. That city could no longer exist. Its name would be stricken from history. And if a city was worshiping another god, like even the citizens were worshiping, you had to kill all the followers and raise the city. The law is very strict. There cannot be any false prophets that lead you away from Adonai. Slide. The next section talks about the Sabbath year, and this is kind of where I think the main theme of the whole portion starts to come out. So during the Sabbath year, there's no work done on the land. It's a year of rest for the land. All debts are to be forgiven, and all indentured servants, which indentured servants were if you stole and you couldn't pay back what you stole, you had to pay off the debt by working for somebody, or if you just encountered a debt naturally, you had to work it off to pay it off if you didn't have the money to pay it off. But every 7 years, all debts and all indentured servitudes were reset. It's pretty cool because this system kind of prevents a caste system, right? There's no way that you can build social hierarchies if every 7 years the social hierarchies are struck, they're gone. Pretty cool. So another thing that's mentioned, Moses states that even if the Sabbath year is near and someone in need asks you for a loan, you shouldn't deny it to them just because the Sabbath year is around and you're worried that you're not going to get paid back for the loan because, someone could wait until the day before the 7th year, ask you for a $5,000 loan, and you give it to them. Sabbath year comes around and they go, what loan? I'm not paying that back. So anyway, You should not deny a loan. You should not deny a loan to those in need. And he says, "For this the Lord your God will bless you in all your work and in all that you undertake." The practice of forgiving debts and charity act as a way to avoid a caste system. So I jumped ahead. My bad. This would kind of level the playing field. And so the next part is where I kind of geek out. We're going to go back to that first line. It's time to geek out on Hebrew. My favorite thing. So I put the first line of the Parsha in the slide, and it goes, I had to, I can read it, but we'd be here forever if I read it from the slide. Re'eh Anoki Notain Lifnekum Hayom Baraka Uklala. That is the first line. See, I am setting before you this day a blessing and a curse. This is Deuteronomy 11:26, first line of the portion. Grammar rules are going to go crazy right now. The first word, re'eh, is the singular form of the root word you see. And the second word is the pronoun lifnekum, or I'm sorry, not the second word, I printed the wrong revision, that's why it said second. I fixed it, I got it in my phone. We're getting off on a tangent. The fourth word, lifnekum, means before you. It's the plural form. The way the sentence is structured is meant to be interpreted that each person individually is responsible for seeing that the whole of Israel is going to be affected by the blessing and the curse, which introduces this new concept called, it's not in here. Arevut. I thought I had put more in there.
It's in there.
But I thought I had put more in there. I looked at my notes and I was like, it's not in there as much as I thought. Anyway, Arevut is based on the word arev, which is a guarantor who promises to back another's loan if the other fails to do so. So basically, like a loan insurance kind of deal, right? Somehow or another, the loan's getting paid, even if it's this guy that took out the loan, or if it's this guy that backed that guy's loan. So arevut is basically a plural form of arev, so multiple guarantors, and the idea is that all of Israel is responsible for all of the obligations of the rest of Israel. Each person is individually responsible for overseeing the well-being of the nation. Slide. So, and I think this is the core message of the portion, I think, because a lot of it is reciting laws, but it's reciting laws so that the people of Israel don't forget the laws that they are obligated to uphold. It's further reinforced, which I did it again. The mind is faster than the paper, I guess. I jumped ahead. Moses reminds everyone about laws that they've been told so far, so that the whole nation is reminded of its obligation to uphold the Lord's commandments. So by all of us upholding the commandments and caring for one another, we not only strengthen our relationship with Adonai, but we also ensure the collective well-being of the nation. If you can think about it, the nation of Israel is kind of like a lake. And for all the actions that we do, it's a drop of water in the lake, and the drop causes ripples. And those ripples interact with other ripples. We all are responsible for the consequences and the blessings that come upon the nation of Israel. That's all I got. Shabbat Shalom.
I always get them. I'm afraid I'm gonna